In this video, I'm going to teach you how to start your metaverse presence using Meta Horizon Worlds. My name's Teacher Danny, and you're going to learn a lot in this video. So once we're in the Meta Horizon Worlds app, on the menu, there's all these options. We're going to click Create, the fourth one with the circle and the square. We're going to click New World, and we're going to stop for a second because obviously they want us to click that button. No, we're going to click Primitive Assets. And it gives us a list of all these templates. We're going to choose the simplest template, blank world. You see all it is just a gray grid and a blue sky. You're going to rename your world, whatever you want to name it. And then you're going to click create. Click. I already built a little practice world to use. As soon as you click create after naming it, it's going to transport you directly to the world that you're going to be able to edit. We're going to appear in the center of the world, and there won't be much there. There'll be a couple objects that have color. I placed them there for some other tutorials I was doing, but typically it would just be this gray grid that just goes off to like a light cloud sky. Now we're just a regular character like any other time, Meta Horizon World. See, I'm just a dude walking around with one exception. I have on my right hand a replica of the thumbstick with an icon of a man holding a wrench just below it. I wasn't even looking at you, was I? So there's the thumbstick. And all we're going to do is we're going to click down on it. Okay. Now we are in edit mode. You see we're big. We're like floating above. Our hands are gone. Our arms are gone. We have these menus. To go back into regular mode, on this left one, see it's a person walking. So we want to go walking. So that's how you'll remember this. This is to go walk around. Click up for that one. And here I am back in regular mode where I can run around. Let's go into edit mode again. You're going to accidentally go back and forth from regular mode to edit mode a lot. And that's okay. That happens to everyone in the beginning. Computer specialist, anybody, doesn't matter. You will eventually get used to not accidentally going into edit mode and back and forth. Now, when I'm in edit mode, see, I'm like gigantic. And I can actually make myself bigger or smaller. Now, there's the triggers up here. This is the trigger. But right here, that's the grab button. The grab button, you use the middle finger. So using the grab button, I use both grab buttons, and I can stretch out the world to make myself smaller relative to the world, or I can squeeze it in to make myself bigger relative to the world. Being the right size is very important because it'll help you work on a project. You know, if I'm working on something intricate down here, I don't want to be like this. You want to get way down in there. And you can get actually pretty tiny, but we don't have to worry about all that. Okay. So I showed you bigger and smaller with the grab buttons. If you just use one grab button and pull the world towards you, see, I'm reaching out. Now I grab, I pull, let go, reach out, grab, pull. You can move. So if I want to go over to this corner, I can go. And see, it just takes a few movements. If I want to change direction, I can look and then go this way. But it would be easier just to twist the whole world around. So again, both grab buttons and then twist the world around. You can go high, you can go low. All right. Now here's another trick. So if I want to go to the center of the world, I can just pull myself there. But wouldn't it be easier to just, look, see, remember I was just walking. Let's get big. Whoop. Now, 1, 2 moves and I'm there. Okay. If I want to go over to that red arrow, big, move, small, beep, 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 arrow stuff. Okay. So being the right size is very important. This spawn point, this is a spawn point. This is where people appear when they enter the world. This can be moved around and stuff. We're going to leave it right there. They place it in the center of the world. So when I go back into regular mode, I'm now where that spawn point is, but if I back off, see, that spawn point isn't there. You don't see it. You only see it when you're in edit mode, and there's many things like that that you only see in edit mode. All right, so we've covered so far movement. Make yourself grow, shrink, move, twist. Those are all very important. I want you to get good at that. You know what? Go ahead and practice. Practice getting over to a corner. Practice getting big and then going to a corner quickly. Practice getting super tiny and doing intricate things. But practice movement. And when you get down movement, then let's start working on the next thing, which is shapes. So you see these wrist menus we have here. They're pretty complicated and they have a lot going on. We are going to focus on the hand tool. All right. You see these like teardrop pointers on top of the menus? I'm pointing at one with the other. It's set to hand mode, and you can tell because hand mode has blue and a hand. If I were to switch it to style by tapping left, now there's a paintbrush on the teardrop and it changed to gray. We'll get to why it changed to gray. If we hit right, that's the duplicate button. We're not going to use that today. That turns green and says duplicate. So we want to always make sure that this one is on hand. Hand is like the select tool. It's like the cursor arrow on a mouse for your computer. So we have the menu button on the left side, and this is how we're going to start pulling out shapes. The menu button, there's a concave button on each joystick. The one on your left is the app menu button. And the one on the right here, this opens the Oculus menu where you can do all types of stuff. But we are using the left one, menu. We're going to call this the edit menu. It opens up the edit menu when you're in edit mode. But see, if I go back down to regular mode, and now I use it, because we're in Meta Horizon Worlds, it pulls up the app menu, where you can do things like travel around and see all my many, many, many friends. Okay. But we are going to stay in edit mode. We're going to open up the edit menu, and it automatically starts out on shapes, which is good because all these options, don't worry about them. We're only going to do shapes and a little bit of coloring today. So that'll be very simple. We don't have to worry about this other stuff. So to make something, you just pull it out. So, and by pull it out, what I did is I pointed it at a shape. And when it's at a shape that it can pull out, this white laser appears. See, if I point up like that, no laser, but point like that, laser. So let's get something else. Okay, I pulled that out. And all I'm doing is I'm just holding it and pulling the trigger. You're going to get that very, very quickly. All right, let me make that menu go away. How do I move stuff? Make sure I'm set to hand. Use the hand tool. Once you touch something, you see it highlights with like a yellow frame. It's always going to be a rectangular frame, even if it's not a rectangular shape like this. See, the frame is always rectangular and it's yellow whenever you're touching an item. So that way, because sometimes, because of the perspective of all this, because these are just two TV screens sitting on my face, you might not know where your cursor is how close is it to you? You can't really tell. So that's why it highlights yellow. The way you move objects is you put the cursor in there, pull the trigger, so that way it's holding it with your hands. So I'm just using the index finger trigger. See, when I let go, it's no longer holding the shape. But if I pull it, I am holding the shape, and you can manipulate it any way you want. So, just making one of my many, many masterpieces. Okay, so if you want to make some modern art sculpture, there you go. Now you are a professional metaversologist. Just kidding. So this is just how to manipulate the shapes. So we're moving the shape around. I'm not sure when the best time to introduce this is, so I'm just going to get it out of the way now. When you are highlighting an item, you see the yellow frame, but if you pull the trigger and let go, you selected this item. This is now the selected item. That means when you're touching an item, we get that yellow highlight frame. But if we pull the trigger and just let go, it selects the item. So if you're trying to do something in the world and it's not working, that's probably because there's a selected item, and that's what's going to be affected by whatever you do. So this is selected. We can tell because it's blue instead of just yellow. See, even when I touch these, the yellow highlight doesn't even come up. The way to get rid of that blue is to select nothing. So I'm in the air. I just pull the trigger with the hand tool set, and the blue frame goes away. So again, put the teardrop pointer in there with using hand tool, pull trigger, let go, take it out. If I want to unselect it, I do that. Okay, so yellow is highlighted, blue is selected. Now, what can I do with these shapes? So, we can move them pretty easily. It's pretty easy to move them. If you want to do precise movement, when you touch a shape, we'll notice that these axis cones stick out. There's one for positive X. There's one for positive Y. There's one for positive Z. They all have great attitudes. But there's also negative X and negative Y and negative Z. Those represent the 6 planes and 6 axes that objects can move on and rotate on and grow on. So if I touch one of these access cones, you see it turns into these 3 interactive shapes, this multi-tool. And the multi-tool has a movement cone, which moves it, scaling cube, which scale is changing shape. And then it also has rotate arrows to rotate. And that's how you do it. Just like you would pick something up and move it, when you touch an interactive and the multi-tool comes out, you can use that shape you just pull the trigger when you're touching it and move. And you can tell when you're touching it because see, it kind of fades its color. So you know which one you're grabbing. And it will only go in an exact straight line. All right. If you want to make something, really tall, really skinny, See, and this is why all this movement is important, because you want to be able to move around however you want to make it. Great. And there you have a shape, And do something different. I mean, you'll get very creative with that. Okay. After manipulating these shapes, what are you going to do? We're going to change the size of these objects. So we can change size each face at a time by using the scaling cube. But instead, let's use both our pointers and have them both touching the object, pull both triggers and stretch it out, and it will grow proportionally on all sides. Okay. And that's how you do it. And you got to make sure you're doing both, because you might think you're touching it with both, but really this pointer drop isn't touching. So you want to make sure they're both in there, because if you just have one, it's going to just do that. All right. Shapes, size, movement, these shape manipulation, these colors are a little boring. So let's click over to the paintbrush by tapping left. Now the paintbrush is selected, and there's a paintbrush up here, and it's gray instead of blue. Why is it gray? Because that is the color that it's set to. If I touch this object, see it's highlighted yellow, and it also previews what that color is going to be. So I touch it, and if I were to make this the color of that it's set to, which is gray, this is what it'll look like. But it's not going to turn gray unless I click it. So I'm going to put the teardrop pointer in there. I click it, and now it's actually going to stay gray. Okay. Another way to do it is you pull the trigger and hold it, and then just swipe it through items, so you can color multiple items. There's another way to select, and you could do this with several tools, including the paintbrush, but while you're pulling the trigger, a plus and minus show up. Well, if you tap towards the plus, it'll grow this bubble. So, maybe it'll be easier for you to, you just want to change things colors really, really quickly. All right, so how do we change the color? Well, remember we have that edit menu with the left menu concave button. So it's set to gray now. Here are some textures you can use, So if I were to use that texture and then change its color, see it has it has a little bit of difference. Maybe this one would be more obvious. See, and now it's that color with that texture on it. All right, so let's just use the regular texture. Sometimes I hold my hand up like this because if I hold it too low, I can see my menu, but you can't through the screen. So I'm gonna have to go back and check and make sure that it was visible for a lot of stuff. All right, so now we just choose a color. And again, the texture is set back to plain. See, it has a white highlight around it. So that's set to plain. No, so it won't be wooden. It's gonna be what, and the paintbrush teardrop is red. So that means it's red. You wanna make them all red? It's fine. Now, when I opened the menu, it was already set to paint, wasn't it? So let me close the menu, right? Remember, last time I opened it, it was shapes. But if I open it, it's already set to style section down here, as opposed to the build section, where the shapes were. But it's on the style section where color and other things are. Now, why would it open like that? Well, it's because of the setting I have on my multi-tool here. If I was set to hand, see, as soon as I set to hand, it goes to build mode. As soon as I go to style, it goes to, or click the paintbrush, it goes to style mode. Okay, so all I have to do is, be in style mode and it'll open up. So let's give these things a little more style. All right, good. A little primary, a little secondary, some good colors there. All right, so that's how you change shapes. And the next thing I want to show you, and the last thing I want to show you for right now, is something that can get a little bit more intricate and involved, but I'm just going to show you the basics now so you can practice with it. It's called snapping. And for snapping, we use this magnet here. So I'm going to go back into hand mode so I can, grab things and select them. I'm going to take on this snapping tool, I'm going to click down. And now, since it's blue, that means snapping is on. Remember when I touch these objects, a yellow frame appears? Well, this time the yellow frame will appear and there'll be little spheres at several points around the shape. So now I touch it and look at these little spheres. They're in the center. And when you grab things now, they don't just move smoothly. Here, let me take off snap. See, it just kind of flows wherever I want it to go. But if I hit it on snap, it's kind of like a little more exacting. The magnet, it clicks to certain areas. So when you want something to be flat, exceptionally level, that's a great way to do it. Okay. You can even use it. You can even grab by these little dots and connect them to other shapes dots, which appear because you're in magnet mode. See, I grab it by a sphere or dot, as I just called it. And then you get close to other ones. And now those are, really well, level. You can't really tell because these are some weird shapes here. Let me do it with this one. All right, so I'm going to grab it by its center dot and bring it to this guy's center dot. And now it's perfectly centered on that. If I grab them both together, you know what? I should have showed you how to select multiple things in the beginning, but that's easy. So I group them both together. I'm in magnet mode. I touch those objects. They're selected. And now it's perfectly level. Okay. I'm going to click out in the air because we saw that it was selected. All right. How do you select more than one thing at a time? Well, the best way is to just pull the trigger and swipe all the things you want connected. Now they're gonna, while they're selected together with this blue frame, they're gonna act as if they are one object. So now you pick it up like this. You can even stretch it out while it's like that, and do all the other stuff, and it will do it all, you know, as if it were one shape. Okay. So remember, if it's like really jerky and moving, you know, or it has those dots, that's because your snap mode is on. And we're going to get into exactly snap mode. Which dot means what these little white, you know, snowflake looking things are in the world. But that's it for beginners. So again, practice your movement. Be the size that you need to be to move. Pull out shapes by using the edit menu. Make sure you're set to hand. Just pull the trigger and the shape will come out. There's this weird thing that when you pull out shapes, it has this oddly oriented blue frame around it. I don't know if that's a glitch. It's just started a few weeks ago. But when that comes out, just click out into the air and it's unselected. And that way, if you select it again, we're back to the rectangular frame. All right. So that's how you do shapes. You either go to color like this, or you can, if you're in hand mode, you go to color like this. Like that. And then whatever color is selected. We went over the axis tools of X, Y, and Z. And how the multi-tools can scale, move, and rotate objects. Let me do it one more time. Scale, move, and rotate objects. And then finally, we went over snap mode to make things level, to connect things. All right. Oh, that was the undo. Why don't you try and figure out how undo works and redo on your own, and we'll touch on that in another tutorial. All right, thanks for checking this out. I'm telling you right now, you 100% can learn this, and I absolutely can teach you how to do this. So if you want to learn more about these tutorials, you can subscribe to my channel, Teacher Danny VR, in YouTube, and obviously that's probably where you're watching this, right? So, yeah, I will instruct you. I promise you, you are teachable. I promise you can learn this. And I promise you, you'll get something functional quickly. In our next tutorial, we'll actually build something. Bye.